All right.
Hey guys, welcome to a Comic Book Look After Hours, your friendly weekly comic book interview show. I'm back live and large and in charge. 2013, brand spanking new, so fresh this morning. What time is it, Gary? We got 8:21 a.m. A world record for a Comic Book Look. Yo!
Some of us are still up, so.
Oh man! But you guys, what do we do here at Comic Book Look After Hours? We talk to awesome creators, and awesome creators we got. Gary Scott Beatty is joining me here, and you're Michigan, is that correct?
That is correct. I am in Michigan.
Awesome. And I am in the middle of South Dakota.
Oh, that's where you are. All right.
Yep. So, we're just out in the middle of nowhere here, but we love it. So, let's just kind of get familiar here really quick. So, I kind of want to save that, my little thing for later. So, from what I've read, from what we've talked about through email, you're into kind of the indie scene. You're huge, and you're doing kind of horror fun books is the way that I would describe it as, because I had fun reading it. It was awesome.
Yeah, good. I had a lot of fun doing it too. I've written books in the past that are maybe more cerebral.
Yeah.
And this one, I was looking at the old Hammer films and the EC comics and the stuff that everybody pulls from, basically.
Yeah.
And let's just do an update of this kind of stuff and have fun with it rather than in getting too brainy about it.
Absolutely.
We still have themes, and we still have. I'm still writing themes, and I'm still writing interesting characters. I think well-established characters, but some of my other books got a little layered. You know what I mean? With their meanings and their themes. And this one, I just kind of went. I'm writing with the bludgeon for this one.
There you go. That's awesome. So from what I've read, then, because I did a little digging, of course, online. You're involved in some compilation issues, and then also, so now this is kind of like you doing you now. You're getting out there, 100% you.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Boy, the last full books that I did were in 2008. I did 3 books in 2008, and one of them was a Zurich Award winner in 2008. Since then, I've been doing this Indie Comics magazine, and I should probably tell your viewers about that, too. It's hours of free fun at indiecomicsmagazine.com.
Okay.
Basically, it's a portal to all of these indie creators that I've been working with. So from there, you can go to their websites and see the stuff that they do and the art that they have up, and it's and a lot of them have free strips and stuff that you can read, and it's just it's a really cool place to go and just kind of immerse yourself in.
Absolutely.
Plus, we have our free video previews up there of books that we're doing. So and the book that we're talking about, actually, you can go into the band's website that made the music for that, and they have free music that they're giving away. So it's free stuff all over the place at indiecomicsmagazine.com.
Mm-hmm. And that site, it's fun. I went and checked it out, and the thing as a viewer that I like is there's just tons of options. Like, what the heck do you want to learn about today? Let's check this out. It's all there. It's like an library of awesomeness. So I did appreciate that.
That's what I've always liked about the indie community is the variety of stuff.
Yeah.
You don't. Indie Comics Magazine doesn't have a company style, for instance, any style of writing or style of illustration. I like a variety. I get bored with the same thing all the time. So comedy, horror, adventure, mystery, all kinds of stuff in that Indie Comics Magazine.
Yeah. Well, I kind of am proud here because, we kind of match a little bit besides, the black and everything, but just maybe some of the background decor as well. I actually had this little ditty hanging out.
Oh, there it is.
In my, I did pick it up, and it was funny. The timing, like, the fact that you messaged me on YouTube, first of all, is just so awesome, dude. Like, because I was like, the name sounds really familiar, and I pulled this out, and I was looking through it, and I'm like, well, there he is, oh my god. Because when I read what you sent me, then it reminded me of this, and so I was like, well, I better, go back and double check, and we'll see, and lo and behold, there you are, so I thought that was just so cool. Now,
Yes.
the interesting thing was it was a literary piece that you had submitted in there. I thought that was really neat.
Oh well,
Because I noticed that was a little different from what I had read, and so I got a kick out of that. I just was reading it. Yeah.
Well, I do coloring and lettering and design for the comic book industry also, and that's kind of what I've been doing since I did my last 3 books. So this page was a piece by Paul Bradford from Australia.
Okay.
He didn't have it illustrated, so I said, well, let me throw it onto a page and make it look gothic, and
yeah.
And so this is a good example of the kind of stuff we can get in Indie Comics Magazine. It's just a variety.
And it is. It really is.
Next to it there is a more traditionally drawn comic story. So, have you up here a little flip through.
Right. So, I don't know what it is about issues like this. It was funny because for our Halloween show, we buffed up on some of the old Tales from the Crypt kind of books, back when it was the period where comics were kind of bad, so they were coming out with all these different books instead because, like, the mainstream was under so much ridicule. So, like, Tales from the Crypt was coming out and stuff. So, I actually got a ton of those to get ready for the Halloween one, fell in love with it. They released a freebie of Tales from the Crypt around that time as well, and I just fell in love with it. And then this came out, loved it, and then what you sent me, loved it. So it's just kind of like dominoes for me. I don't know what it is about it. Like, I like the variety. I get such a chuckle out of it. It's fun.
I just like working with so many different people doing so many different things, and this was the first issue of this. The second issue is going to be solicited in April's previews.
Okay.
We're having a number 2 coming out in April's previews.
Okay.
I just like the different ways of telling the story. Tales from the Crypt was great and is great reading, and I recommend it to anybody.
Oh, yeah.
But it seems like everybody from movies and comics and everything else that have been doing horror work since then, everybody's trying to do the EC comics.
Yeah. I'm
trying to do it maybe a little more updated and a little more modern, maybe getting back to some of the gruesomeness, too.
I totally agree with you on that. I mean, we can't go into the details of the book. Guys, let me tell you, Gary can let me tell you this. It's awesome. It is very current. And, I did get that vibe. I mean, it's the technology that's involved. But more importantly, it's the mindset. And I really did get that from the book. Because from some of these older ones, it's like, oh, no, they were holding hands in the park. Well, now we're getting into the down and dirty of what it means to be human. And, Gary, you're not holding back. Oof.
No, I didn't want to hold back. Not with Tales of Fear #1.
Yeah.
Should give shout out that's being solicited in February's previews.
Out of it, yeah.
And that's totally me, and I'm working in a new style.
Yeah.
Working in a new, more realistic style. Actually, this is the style I've been working with for the past several years. Very flat, design-oriented style. This was the Zurich book that I did in 2008, with inspired by 50s album cover design. This is just totally different than anything that was going on at the time, or really is going on now. And we have some nice discussions on whether this is actually a comic book or not. But I can't think of any other way to present something like this, except in this comic book style.
That's awesome, though.
This book is still available on Amazon, but I've moved to a highly realistic look, I think. What did you think of the style? Because I'm still getting feedback on that nearly photographic style for Tales of Fear #1. Did you like that?
Honestly, I thought that it did work really well. My favorite part was just the little dude that's narrating. For the opener. That is so. It's so whimsical and fun. Like, it just made me fall in love with it, and that's what I like, is how it just introduces it. You're like, rawr. And so it's so clever and fun, and I think that you took an old classic formula, but you put some modern twist to it, which, in my opinion, it may be needed for readers these days. The old ones are definitely worth checking out, though. You guys, don't get me wrong, but this is definitely a hit. I like it, so.
Well, thank you. Tell everybody, Tales of Fear in February's previews.
Exactly. So if you guys don't check it out, you're a jerk. But no, seriously, I'm
Oh,
very
I like to hear
blunt.
that. I like to hear that from your viewers.
No, but in all seriousness, it is very good work, and I am very excited about it coming out here. And when it does, maybe I can hound you for like an autograph or something.
Oh, that would be great. I'd love to do that for you, John. Yep. Would you like to see? We're broadcasting here from the Marvel Room at Azern Comics headquarters.
What?
Would you like to see a little bit of the Marvel Room here?
Yes. Totally.
Well, this shows that I not only do new things, but I'm also a comic book geek myself. So
there you go.
Let's see if this works. Can you see?
Got some.
See the Marvel Room here?
I got some posters on the wall. Was that a Medusa poster back there?
It sure is. These are 70s light posters. They're silk screen.
Yeah.
And I've got this entire room set up just to show these off.
Wow.
Let me show you something cool. Let's see if blacklight works online.
Dude,
You like that?
That is so.
Isn't that killer?
That is awesome. Wow.
Let me tell you, I want to tell you, if you get married, make sure you have a wife who will let you do this kind of thing.
Yo. Oh, man.
Well, so that's the Marvel Room here at Azern Publishing.
That is so epic, dude. Wow.
Cool.
Oh.
Well, and Marvel and the old companies out of New York, going back to the 50s and 60s, they were a lot smaller, and they were a lot more like the indie people I work with. I mean, they were small, they were agile, they were able to add whatever was selling at the time. They were able to jump on the bandwagon and sell it, and that kind of thing. It was just a little company. I hear that Marvel in the 60s, if you were to go to the Marvel offices in the 60s, it was just this, like, I don't know, a couple of rooms. It was a secretary and stand.
Yeah, exactly.
Artists worked outside of the place, and just real small stuff. And that's it seems to me that's where the really creative and fun comics come from, is small stuff.
Isn't that true? It's funny, like with Marvel and stuff now, I get a ton of backstock, and I love that old thing. I kind of accuse myself of having this man crush on Jean Grey, even though I'm gay, which makes no sense. But I love kicking it with Jean Grey in the old books, like getting to know her, because she's not in the new books until the all new X-Men came around a couple months ago. I don't know, like the old stuff just for me seems more wholesome. I enjoy it a little bit more. I don't know, and I guess it's just cheaper for me to buy, so I buy a ton of that in bulk. I usually get my bricks of backstock and read those, but I don't know. I totally agree with you though. It's I kind of miss the old days, even though I wasn't formally around, but from what I've read.
What I'm trying to do with Indie Comics Magazine is do short stories.
Mm-hmm.
And you wouldn't believe, you would think the submissions I get in, that they'd fall flat with maybe the writing or the art or something, but the biggest deal is just getting people to send me 8-page, done-in-one stories. Nobody seems to be able to write these 8-page stories anymore. It has to get a middle and an end. Stan, back in the day, you could buy a single issue, and it might relate to everything else going on in the Marvel Universe, but you still have a fun single issue of a major comic book. I really miss that. I miss being able to go out and just buy like a single issue of The Flash or something and just have a whole story, have something to catch up. They're actually not selling me books because they don't do single issue stories anymore. So
crossovers and this, that, or the next thing.
Oh, yeah, it's
major cash cows.
Mega everything,
Yeah.
So with Indie Comics Magazine, what we're doing is 8-page, done-in-one stories with a beginning, middle, and an end. And you get a variety of styles and writing styles. But still, you get a decent chunk of entertainment out of the darn things.
Yeah.
Because they're not continued stories. They finish, so...
I'll have to definitely see if I can't check those out. Those would be available online then? on the
Oh, I
website?
ought to tell you though, that's the problem. You have to find them at your local or
Yes.
online comic dealers because we're exclusive to Marvel with Indie Comics Magazine.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you order it, you're not guaranteed to even get one.
Okay.
I don't even have any issues of number 4 left because we pretty much print to what Diamond wants to buy.
Yeah.
And then, I ran out. I had a few extras, and I ran out. But that Indie Comics Magazine Christmas issue that has Rich Koslowski is in there, who does the Three Geeks and writes for Marvel. He's got a Three Geeks story in there, and that sucker sold out, and I don't have any anymore. So,
That's awesome.
so you pretty much have to order these things because we print to orders.
Okay. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
What's the whole process like here when you're working with lots of other people? Is it just kind of we're gonna do it by this date? I'm giving you guys 5 months, chop chop, or how does it go? Is it? I imagine you're not like a drill sergeant or anything.
Well, you can't be a drill sergeant because you're working with creative people, and they're going to take time that they take.
Okay.
But when you work with people that are the people I work with understand that we do have to have things by a certain time, and on the whole, they're pretty darn good about getting their work in for the anthologies. They're pretty good about getting that work in because it's more than just having it in time to print it.
Yeah.
You have to have stuff in time to for Tales of Fear #1 that's going to be solicited in February's Diamond. I have an ad on there for Indie Comics Horror #2, which is coming out February, March. It's going to be solicited in April's Diamond. But I have to have all that lined up so I know who's going to be in it, so I know who to put in the ad for that one that's coming up. So we're way ahead of time. We got to be way ahead of time on this stuff. And I'm only doing 3 or 4 books a year over here too. So and it's still kind of a nightmare. But you got to make lists. You got to make lists and stay on top of people. And that's I can see why editors get worry at night about getting stuff in. I can see how that happens. Does that answer your question?
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know how it all works, but it all just seems to work. So
it all comes together.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So do you do like conventions and stuff then, or?
I do a limited number of conventions here in Michigan. I'm just way too busy. I wish I could do more.
Yeah.
I do 2 or 3 a year, and they're all in Michigan.
Are they awesome? Should I come out?
Oh yeah, the ones I do are great. There's a smaller one up in Traverse City called C3. That's in the spring.
Okay.
Cherry Capital Con that I do. There's Detroit Fanfare, which is a larger one. DetroitFanfare.com, I assume, to find out about that. Gary Reed runs that. He's one of the guys that runs that. A good friend of mine from back in the Caliber comic days, the indie 80s black and white explosion.
Nice.
Excellent stuff. And these guys are still producing stuff and still doing great books.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I am looking at cons right now to go to. I'm a bit of a planner. It's annoying. But I was going over the whole list of them throughout the country. Like, I should maybe go here, blah blah blah. I made, there's a couple of people that do shows or are enthusiasts that I want to, meet up with and stuff. And so I did a couple last year, and I figured I'd check out some new ones this year for sure.
Yeah.
Michigan. Michigan from South Dakota. I'm trying to think of that drive.
That is, it's quite a ways.
Yeah, I could always fly. I'll think about it, definitely. Well, I'll look up the dates on those then, because I do remember seeing at least the CE3 you said.
The C3. Cherry Capital Con.
Okay.
And Traverse City is a beautiful place to be too. It's just it's a beautiful place. That's a little con, but they get some major names in. But I like the little ones because a lot of what I do, I have to kind of explain to people.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons that I did the Tales of Fear. Is I don't have to explain it. I could just, it's horror, and people will know what I'm talking about. Where you can you can understand with this Jazz Cool Birth book, I have to say, yeah, it's inspired by 50s album cover design. Then before we're cut off again.
That's definitely understandable. The old reboot helps everything.
It does.
Yeah, so, we were just kind of going over the hoo-ha before we got cut off there. So let's kind of get into your online presence. I was looking at you on Twitter here. I saw 2 accounts with your face on it. There's a, at Gary, you're at Gary Scott Beatty, and then there's like a Muskegon or something?
I do an online magazine here in Muskegon County.
Gotcha.
So I kind of have 2 different entities online. I'm the Muskegon County guy, and then I'm the World Comic Book guy.
Uh-oh. Well, I'll just add both of you then.
If you want to know what's going on in Muskegon County, don't go for the muskegononline.net account.
Okay. So if you want to get Gary on Twitter, you guys, it's just @ Gary Scott Beatty. Say hello. Be nice to him or else you're a jerk, and he'll tell me, and then I'll take care of business. So be nice to him. So where else can we find you out here? We talked about, the Indie Comics websites. Do you have like an email or preferred way to reach you in case anybody had any? I know that the books also give, your contact info. You're a very open person.
Yes. Oh, yeah. We're very transparent about everything we're doing over here. The absolutely best way to keep track of me or any of the other indie creators is indiecomicsmagazine.com. Cool. It has contact information for everybody. You go into their websites, and if you're interested in somebody, go into their websites, and they'll tell you how to contact it there.
Okay.
So to contact me, go to indiecomicsmagazine.com and click on Gary Scott Beatty, and you come right into my website where people can get a hold of me. It's really the best way to keep track of everybody.
That's awesome. Right on. Well, I'll go ahead and get this video put up then for you. And again, we do wish you warm wishes on that project. It rocks. It's funny in that press kit, and you're in so much trouble. You say in the press kit, if you're gonna do spoilers, do a spoiler alert at least on it, or it was something to that effect on that PDF, and I was like, oh, Gary, you're killing me. So I was good. I didn't say anything, but guys, it really rocks, seriously, and I highly recommend it. So.
Well, just for a final plug, then, Azurn Publishing, AAZURN. So we're at the beginning of the order book, the Diamond Previews order book. Tales of Fear #1 in February's previews. April's previews is Indie Comics Horror #2, which has a whole bunch of different people in it. And March, April, May, June. June's previews, most likely we will have another Indie Comics magazine in there. So, probably the best way to make sure you get your hands on these, because we do print to orders from Diamond, is to just make sure your comic shop pulls everything from Azurn Publishing, AAZURN. And we won't overwhelm you with a whole bunch of books, because we only do a few a year, tops. All right, John?
Right on. Well, thank you again so much for reaching out to me. Have a good rest of your morning, of course, and I'll try to get this online as soon as possible. I will wrap up the show here. Thank you again, seriously, so much. You guys know the drill, as always, from South Dakota to Michigan, keeping it strong out here in the Midwest. You guys know the drill. Keep it comics.